No, not yet. Can you hear me?
Connected. Nice.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to switch over. Oh, we got to edit this out. Oh, maybe I'll leave it in.
Mm-hmm.
All right, folks. Welcome back to Something About Web3. I am Dan Lippert, and I am here with...
Kazuaki.
Yes. And this is episode 2 of our podcast about something about Web3. It's about all things, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, other technologies, cryptography, and all that kind of good stuff. So we're back with another episode. Thank you, everyone who checked out the first episode. And we're on, of course, Spotify, but also on Apple Podcasts, Castbox, YouTube, and probably a bunch of other places. So go follow us. You can find myself at Dan_Lippert, LAPERT on Twitter. I'll link our Twitters in the show notes. Kazuaki is also on Twitter. And then where you find the podcast, I don't know. Just search something about Web3, and I'm sure you'll find it. I'm pretty sure that works. We'll get a domain at some point. Probably once we figure out a good name for this podcast.
Yeah, right.
We might be stuck with what we have. We'll see. So, Kazuaki, you were saying that you're starting to get some gear FOMO. I don't know if FOMO is the right word, but
yeah.
What were you thinking about?
Well, first gear I took a look was, of course, the microphone. The Shure.
Mm-hmm.
Which one is it? Not the USB one, but have XLR cable with
Oh boy.
Yeah. I'm going to buy an interface as well.
Oh boy. You know, in the music world, they call that gear acquisition syndrome. So you say you have gas, you have bad gas, bad gear acquisition syndrome. You have this need to buy more and more audio interfaces and microphones and synthesizers and all kinds of stuff. So
yeah.
That is real. Yeah, I probably already have this stuff, but I'm just recording on my phone. But I actually have my music studio in the other room with a microphone and a nice audio interface set up. But I don't know. We'll see. Let us know in the comments if I should move into the studio when I record sitting in my office.
Yeah.
My Galaxy. Yeah. Anyway. Well, I fully support your need to acquire more gadgets, Kazuaki. I think it's great.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Once we get more listeners, we should seriously think about this.
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah.
I'm down. I didn't tell you this yet, but I already had someone reach out and ask if we would talk about something on the podcast in return for a financial compensation.
Oh.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to say who it was.
Okay.
Obviously we didn't do it yet. But I thought that was quite interesting. I think it shows that this space is really in need of a lot more media, a lot more people talking about maybe the technical side of things, or I feel like there's just so much out there that's being built in terms of platforms, technologies, chains, and there just aren't enough people talking about them in ways that aren't price go up, price go down, wind moon, that type of stuff. Anyway, so you sent me this link earlier this week, a Japanese Twitter thread about how the blockchain is not inefficient in its energy consumption. And this is definitely something that's been talked about a lot with the American Twitter sphere and people in crypto and people outside of crypto, as a very big criticism of crypto. Of course, also in the EU, they had some sort of legislation or vote that failed that would, I think, outlaw proof of work cryptocurrencies, although I don't know how that would even work. Do you want to talk a little bit about this Japanese Twitter thread? That's kind of, I don't know, how would you describe it?
Yeah. Well, basically, this guy is saying, well, he has something want to talk about Web3 energy consumption, and a lot of people criticize, oh, Bitcoin's energy efficient because
Mm-hmm.
and it's not useful. But he was pointing out it's useless, and I mean it's pointless, I guess. And then he was saying that users are usually try to pick up the low gas fee, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the blockchain is all about uh, so the basically to consider that blockchain has a mechanism designed that try to lower the gas fee, and
Right.
that's why layer 2 and lightning network or proof of stake technologies, like all kinds of stuff are popping up like every couple months. So
That's true.
yeah, and so the whole ecosystem are trying to move to the energy efficient way, right? And
Yeah.
but he was pointing out that um, energy here the real problem about Web3 energy consumption is that um, energy consumption per transaction, it's not it's not about energy consumption per transaction. The real problem is we've been producing so much uh, garbage transaction on the
Right.
blockchain. We've been playing too much.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. I think that's true.
Definitely it's true for chains other than Bitcoin,
Hmm.
at least.
Right.
Probably Bitcoin as well, but if you look at chains like Binance or Phantom,
Oh yeah.
there's certainly a lot of nonsense transactions that happen.
Hmm.
Usually some failed arbitrage or whatever. Although you can argue that those transactions are necessary for the health
Hmm.
of the chain and
Yeah.
price discovery and things like that. I think it's
Yeah.
some really interesting points for sure. I do think the energy consumption per transaction is really a flawed
Hmm.
argument because it's not taking into account that the network is used. Yes, it's used for transacting, but there's the transactions are a piece of a larger puzzle that involves
Hmm.
applications, exchanges. Um, if you add in all of the transactions that are happening on exchanges, centralized exchanges, obviously that would bring the price per transaction way down. It's part of that ecosystem, but it's not on chain, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
like he's also pointing out like we can create transaction like in a couple dollar with a couple dollars. And then if you
yeah,
think about like traditional finance on the international money transfer, how much does it cost? Like you got to think about it.
yeah,
Yeah.
that is true. I mean, if I buy one share of a penny stock on Robinhood, like what is the price of that transaction? You know,
Right.
all the
Yeah.
people that work at Robinhood, the
Hmm.
people who work at the stock exchange, the people who work at the SEC, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many people involved in that. So it's really tough to actually size up the impact that the financial world has on the environment and then to compare it to Bitcoin, I think is just extremely difficult.
Right.
Um, And that's a really interesting point you made about how it's kind of reflected in dollars, and that built into blockchain, Bitcoin, Ethereum, etc., is an incentive to try to come up with scaling solutions because it is so directly translatable into fiat currency values. So
Mhm.
when you see all of these transactions happening that are costing, hundreds of dollars in gas fees, it incentivizes people to build new platforms like Optimism or Phantom
Right.
or Lightning Network or
Yeah.
whatever. And all of that stuff is really hidden in the traditional financial world. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of barriers to entry to someone who wants to build a new platform to try to improve that in any
Mhm.
way.
Yeah.
Um,
So
yeah,
so yeah.
really interesting.
Overall, Web3 doesn't have any problem about energy consumptions. It's working really great at at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have to agree. I think the incentives are really helping.
Yeah.
Um, and that kind of brings me to our next topic, which is the ETH merge. Um, well, let me ask you this: do you think it's even still needed now that we have Optimism and all these other solutions? What is
Right.
the point of going to proof of stake at this point?
Mm, that's true. I see a lot of people saying proof of stake is um scammer or something like that.
Scammer?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a little harsh. I
I know, right? But yeah, that's the person who picked the violins, but
yeah,
um,
seriously.
yeah,
Hmm.
but I don't think it's scammer, but I would say different approach for like cheaper transaction fee. But
Yeah.
I think it's we don't have to work really hard on this since we have like power chains and side chains or different layer two solutions.
Yeah. And I feel like all those solutions are just now starting to be really useful, starting really to have those core integrations of the core platforms in DeFi, that make DeFi work. I feel like it's just getting started, and now they're going to
Oh,
come and say, well, we have this other solution too that's going to kind of further fragment
hmm,
the the available solutions for end users. So I
that's
don't know,
true.
but I am seeing a lot of interesting stuff being built on top of ETH staking.
Mm,
I don't know if you've seen like the STETH tokens going around and things like that.
what's STETH?
Staked Ether.
Okay.
So if you have Ether, you can stake it,
Yeah.
um, in a shared staking pool, and now there are staking pools that are giving you in return a staked ETH token. So
Mm,
you can remain liquid while staking
okay.
and generate yield and all kinds of
Oh,
stuff.
that's nice. That's cool.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so seeing that type of stuff actually made me more bullish on proof of stake.
Mm,
Because I'm pretty pro proof of work,
right.
but I'm also kind of interested in the DeFi degeneracy of having a staked
That's
ETH token.
true. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true.
I just think that's very interesting,
Yeah.
and something that proof of work doesn't have. And I don't really hear anyone talking about that.
Mm,
I mean, DeFi is just so exciting
yep.
compared to Bitcoin. You know,
Right.
I don't. Bitcoin is exciting when it goes up and down, but now most people are rooting for some sort of Bitcoin instruments on the traditional finance stock markets and things like that,
Mm,
or Cash App allowing you to. I just saw this from the big Bitcoin conference that's going on. Cash App is going to allow you to automatically take a percentage of your salary, direct deposit into Cash App and change that into Bitcoin. Um, stuff like that. Very traditional
mm,
finance type of stuff. in my
Yeah,
opinion,
yeah,
versus what's happening in ETH and what's happening with Web3 in general.
right, right.
Um, I don't know how. So how's your FOMO in terms of ETH? I mean, the price action has been quite nice. I think also versus Bitcoin, it's been quite nice.
Yeah,
Just in the last couple weeks,
right.
and in this little ascending formation that's been happening across the
Yeah,
market.
I guess it's triggered by many VCs.
VCs want
Uh,
in.
yeah, be,
Yeah.
because proof of stake on the major platform. Hey, you should purchase this coin and then join this big waves and stuff like that. Um, but like like large platform like ETH try to move the major upgrade is always exciting to see how the technology behind this technology behind it works.
Hmm.
And also, speaking of different chains or layer two solutions, you see a lot of the bridge hack every week. And I
No
think,
kidding. Yeah.
yeah, I think that bleeding is essential in order to mature the platform and technologies.
That's a really interesting point because I can't imagine the VCs that have invested in these bridges and alternative layer ones and what have you are that happy about their founders coming to them and saying, "Hey, someone hacked us for $600 million. Can you help us pay them back?"
Mm.
Right? I mean, that's not something you want to hear.
Mm.
Um, and I think it's getting to the point now. I mean, in quite a few instances, they did pay back the funds, but I think it's getting to the point now where no one is going to pay back those funds
Right.
anymore.
Right.
It's just too much. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, I mean, the hacks have been rampant.
Yeah.
So that could be a good point that people are want to reduce that complexity by staying on the original level one.
Hmm.
But even if ETH has a successful fork here, I don't know if you would call it a fork, successful merge.
Hmm.
Do we really think it's going to bring gas prices down?
That's a good point. That's a
Because
great
they
point.
thought gas prices would go down with the change earlier this year. I guess it was late last year
Hmm.
of the separating the incentive fee, right?
Hmm. Yep.
Uh, and that made gas prices skyrocket, at
Hmm.
least for a while. Now I think they're kind of down lower than they were before that change. But
Mm.
I think everyone across the board thought that would reduce prices,
Yeah.
and it
That's
didn't,
true.
right? So,
Mm.
but at least it will reduce the carbon footprint, so to
Mm.
speak.
Yep.
Um, but to be honest, I think this might be an important lesson for people in crypto in general. And you could tell me if you disagree on this, but I think switching to proof of stake because of the environmental argument is
Hmm.
just acquiescing to the complaints of a bunch of people who aren't involved in crypto.
Mm.
The people who criticize proof of work, I don't think that many of them are in the crypto community at all. It's just people from the outside looking for a reason to criticize
Oh yeah, that's true. That's
it. So
100% true.
if you change what you're doing in the crypto world to please these people who honestly don't want to have anything to do with crypto, what is the point of that? Do we
Mm.
think that these people are going to say, "Oh, now it's eco-friendly, so now I'm going to buy my first NFT"? I don't think they are.
I don't think so. I don't think
I
so.
think they're coming they're coming at it from an angle of they don't like NFTs or they don't like Web3 or they don't like crypto in general for whatever reason, and we could get more into that. But and this is a way to criticize it from a kind of holier than thou standpoint, maybe disregarding the fact that all NFTs ever use less energy than things like YouTube. Um,
Mm.
which no one ever criticizes YouTube
Right.
for how much energy it uses.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Mm.
Will the switch to proof of stake satisfy the eco warriors on Twitter? I can't imagine that it will. I look forward to seeing what the next criticism
Yeah,
will
yeah,
be.
yeah, yeah. That's true.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting that more and more institutions are getting involved, and I think you're right that that probably is driving a lot of the FOMO. But I gotta say, the yields are small on staked ETH, so I'm like
Yeah.
personally not that interested.
Mm.
I don't know. I'd be more interested if I could run my own mining node.
Right.
I
Yeah.
guess you could if you just how much do you need? 24 ETH or something like that?
It used to be 24 ETH.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe that would be worth it to join Flashbots or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um by the way, I probably shouldn't say this on the podcast, but or maybe I said it last week, but I did do a transaction through Flashbots RPC,
Mm.
which was exciting for me. I don't know how, but I did it. So I
Nice.
encourage everyone to check that out if they haven't checked it out already. Um, Even if you're not interested in doing arbitrage and hacking people and all that kind of stuff, you can use that tool the way it was, I guess, publicly described as a white hat tool yourself
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if you want to shield yourself from the dark forest of Ethereum.
Yeah. That's a great article. So yeah, I encourage everyone to check that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If you haven't read about the dark forest,
Hmm.
you need to read it.
Yeah,
And after you read it, you'll be terrified, and you probably won't want to use crypto anymore.
that's true. That's true.
um,
Or either you want to be one of the part of the dark forest.
yeah,
If
it'll
you're,
either turn you evil or terrify you.
yeah.
So everyone check that out. Let us know if you became evil or terrified. Um, but you know what? There is a lot of tech coming out that is going to help users be shielded from all the bad actors in the crypto ecosystem, whether or not that's on chain or social engineering attacks. Um, Mentioning MetaMask on Twitter, leading to thousands of bots attacking you, that kind of thing. And there was this article that you sent me about zero knowledge proofs being used to protect the privacy of airdrop recipients.
Mm.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that since you
Y-
are, if people don't know, Kazuaki is in my opinion, ZKP expert. So
You actually, you truly set the bar high.
sorry.
But yeah, I previously worked on the ZK voting platform called ZK Cream with Dan here. So, well, first I took a look at the. I found that on the Twitter saying Andreessen Horowitz, the VC
Mm-hmm.
A16Z, they created a platform. I mean, open source, not the platform, open source library called ZKP Merkle Airdrop Contract.
Mm-hmm.
What, which does, which basically does airdrop uh, while preserving the recipient's privacy, which is a recipient's address, so that once you get the airdrop from this contract, no one knows you get the airdrop by everybody. And then they're basically using the same technique that we used on the ZK Cream. They have
Mm-hmm.
uh, circuits that runs your local machine, try to create the proof, zero knowledge proof on the local using a private inputs, and then once you publish the proof on the contract, your transaction will include it inside of a Merkle tree.
Mm-hmm.
And if that transaction were verified, you can get the token. Well, actually, you pull the token from a contract.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's basically same technique that Tornado Cash does.
Right. Right.
And then
Right.
if you take a look at the source code, it says heavily inspired by Tornado Cash. So
Oh, really?
yeah.
Interesting. Um, yeah, it was interesting that you sent me that because I actually ended up using it
Mm,
in the Element Finance DAO launch, which we'll talk about a bit later. But what's really interesting in it is that it doesn't necessarily shield you from, I guess, being an airdrop recipient, because obviously
mhm.
everyone can see the transaction happen on chain. Some wallet
Yep.
receives the token as part of
Mhm.
the airdrop. But what it does do is it kind of shields like why you got the airdrop, if
Mm,
that makes sense.
yeah.
And it protects you like from your own community in a way. Because if you think of a typical airdrop, say for like Discord community members, right?
Mm.
Like what would you do? You would run some script that analyzes the Discord activity, looks for the people who are most active or whatever, and then you have a list of Discord usernames. Okay, great. Like what does that give you? Now you have to go through that, ask everyone somehow, hey, Discord username Mr. Bob 420, what's your Ethereum address? Right? And they have to kind of dox
Okay.
themselves on chain
Yeah.
um, in order to get the airdrop. But with this technology, you don't need to do that. You basically post in your Discord and say, hey, everyone, if you think you are eligible for this airdrop with XYZ requirement, you're considered one of the top 1,000 community members or whatever in our Discord. Go ahead and fill out this form. And what that form is going to do is it's going to generate a proof of your identity that gets tied to your Discord handle. And once everyone has done that, they can later go and redeem those proofs to an address of their choosing. Um, but the ZK proof itself, has the identity in it, has
Mm.
your Discord identity attached to it, right?
Yep.
Um, and so it basically breaks that connection, whether it's an internal connection among the project members or team members, of having a mapping of people's identities, in this case Discord handles, to their Ethereum addresses. Totally breaks that. So not even the people who are in the project know their community members' Ethereum addresses, which
Mm. So
is obviously
no
good for a
mistake.
ton of different reasons,
Right.
especially when it comes to airdrops.
Mm.
So
Right.
really interesting technology, and um, I got to experience it firsthand and do the proof generation and everything because of the Element Finance DAO launch. They're doing an airdrop to what they call ecosystem contributors, and um, a couple different projects that I had worked on, open source stuff, was listed in their list of like eligible GitHub repos. So they're doing one where they're going to tie GitHub identities and your commit history to all these different open source projects. I don't know if it's actually commit history. I don't know how they're doing it, but something to do with your GitHub activity with all these different open source projects, and they're going to be airdropping people based on that. So I went ahead and did the proof generation and everything. And then I
Mm.
guess it was supposed to be this week, but next week they're going to allow me to redeem that proof. So I'm
Wow.
excited.
I was just curious. How long did proof generation take?
Um, it took a couple minutes,
Okay.
and I have a pretty good laptop. Not too
Wow.
long though. Yeah, just a couple minutes. Um, and one thing that was interesting was I did have to do a drag your mouse around randomly on this slider thing.
Oh yeah, because you need a random. I think 32 31 bytes
Uh-huh.
secret key.
Need some entropy,
It,
huh?
yeah. It's a
Yeah.
one-time pat kind of thing.
Ah, I see. Well,
Yeah,
that's always fun.
yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, the process was really smooth. I was pretty impressed. Um, Hopefully it actually works. Well, I guess
Mm,
I'll let everyone know next week
yeah,
if I get
interesting.
my airdrop. Um,
Yeah.
and the Element Finance folks were on, I believe it was Nicholas podcast. I hope I'm not getting that wrong. One of the big podcasts, not ours, someone's big podcast. Um, and so I spent some time listening to that. Yeah, it was on Bankless,
Hmm,
and I will say the guys behind Element I've interacted with uh, when I was part of Consensus. Um, Very smart guys. So you know, I actually first I found out I was eligible for the airdrop. Someone told
hmm.
me. Then I took a look at the project because I'd never heard of it because I don't pay enough attention. And then I was like, oh, it's these guys from Consensus. So I thought, okay, this must be quite a cool project. Um, but it does one thing that Kazuaki, you and I have talked about a lot before, which is it gives you a fixed APR on yield farming, which if anyone's ever done even a little bit of yield farming, I'm sure you've experienced this thing that happens where you look at a nice juicy yield of like 40 or 70%. You deposit your funds and you check it the next day and the yield is down to 20% or something like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you're experiencing all types of impermanent loss and things like that. So they've come up with a system that actually has fixed term yields. It's almost like a bond or a CD,
Hmm.
to use the traditional finance terms. It's quite interesting. Um, so I don't know. I encourage people to check it out. Although full disclosure, as I said, I guess I'm hopefully part of the airdrop. So not necessarily doing this to bolster my bags, but just sharing kind of the information I found when I took a look at the project myself, because obviously I wanted to learn more about it if I was going to be a DAO member or something like that. Um, so quite interesting. Although I will say also they're doing NFTs. They're doing some sort of NFT for it. It's Element Finance, so it's like an elf themed NFT, kind of Lord of the Rings, pointy ears type of deal. I
Mm.
don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. It seems like everyone in the Discord is just really excited for the NFTs.
I mean, what NFT does here on the Element Finance?
I don't think it does anything.
Oh,
Okay.
for
Wait.
collectible?
Let me correct myself. I know exactly what the response is because I saw a lot of people ask that in the Discord.
Yeah.
They said that it's going to be up to the DAO members to decide what the NFTs do.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
uh that's I'm sure the SEC or whoever will love untangling statements like that
Right.
because that NFT that big NFT project, what was it called? Like Embers, and it was like the people who scammed some other NFT project before that. Did you see this? These people got arrested in California,
Oh yeah.
and yeah. So they got in trouble because not because they rug pulled an NFT project, but because they promised that the NFTs would do something in the
Mm,
future,
mm.
and then they rug pulled. I don't think
Yep.
the SEC would have had a problem if they were like, here's some cute art and buy, like, and we're never going to talk to you again. Enjoy the art.
Yeah.
But the fact that they said, oh, the NFT is going to do something in the future, and
Mm,
that's you always have to be careful when you sell
right.
someone something that's going to do something in the future, because that makes the SEC very excited in their pants when they hear about what they would instantly then describe as a security, right? If it's going
Mm,
to do something in the future. Um, I always think about like Chuck E. Cheese. It's like if you bought Chuck E. Cheese tokens and then you went to Chuck E. Cheese and they didn't have any pizza and they didn't have any games, but they said, "Don't worry, all that's coming." Um, but you can buy the tokens now.
Mm,
That's just straight up fraud, right?
yeah.
So so you have to be careful of that type of thing. But
Yeah.
anyway, so Element, it's going to be up to the DAO to decide what the NFTs do.
Mm, yeah. That's
Mm-hmm.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Um. Anyway, speaking of
Mm,
NFTs, I saw a new project when I was looking around on Gitcoin grants, and I shared it with you. That was this thing called AkiyaDAO.
mm,
Um, and I know you didn't have much time to take a look at the project, but because you do live in Japan, you already know a lot about the concept of Akiyas, and it's actually something that you and I have talked about
mm-hmm.
previously,
Yep.
not in the DAO sense, but just in the sense of them existing. Um, so I don't know. Do you want to share your thoughts on just Akiyas in general, and then the idea of creating a DAO to maybe purchase, maintain, and I don't know what timeshare them?
Right. Well, Akiya basically means empty home. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's a huge problem here in Japan because uh, the number of population is decreasing in Japan, and then it's there are tons of Akiya empty home in
Mm-hmm.
Japan, and then sold really cheap, especially in a rural area.
Yeah.
And you can actually purchase home like I don't know, a couple $1,000s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So I
why is that? Why are these homes so cheap?
well, first of all, there's no demand there,
Right. People don't
and
want to live where these homes are located.
true. And even if they got home, there's no job out there, and then there's no infrastructure or no traffic there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why the home value were extremely low, and then no
I
one
see.
wants to live there.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I mean, these are very rural villages and things like that where, well, I don't know, what would you say? Most people are either doing farming or some sort of
Probably, yeah.
government infrastructure, education, something like that. Although
Yeah,
I've heard like not even I heard a lot of these villages don't even have schools anymore because there's no children there.
right. That's true. So like yeah, like if you have kids in those rural area, you have to drive a car. Like you gotta an hour drive to drop your kids to the school
Jeez.
every day.
Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah.
So I guess these folks who are doing AkiyaDAO saw some sort of opportunity here and thought we can purchase some of these homes, we can raise funds with a DAO and do some sort of kind of sustainable eco village, eco tourism, woofing. I mean, there's a lot of terms for this type of thing. Um, Project to kind of restore something to these areas.
Right.
Um, I don't know. It's quite interesting, but again, they're also going to be doing an NFT, of
Yeah, yeah.
course,
I mean,
of course. So
my question first time I heard about this is what DAO exactly gonna do for IKEA?
right, why do you need a DAO to do this?
Right. I mean, like, I don't know. Why it's gotta be a DAO to take care of those IKEA?
Yeah, yeah. I kind of had that same question. I mean, obviously for fundraising,
Right.
right? It makes sense. Um, but I can't imagine like trying to establish a DAO that was domiciled in Japan.
Mm,
It's got to be, I don't even know. How are you going to explain this to the people at the city hall in this rural area?
Right.
They're they're gonna say, okay, who lives here,
Mm.
right? Well, actually, it's a decentralized autonomous organization, so no one
Right.
really lives there. And then the people at the city hall are gonna say, get out of here. Right? Like,
Right. Um.
uh, and they're gonna say, also, we're not letting you buy the house, because that's also a thing here.
Right.
I think people view Japan as a very capitalist
Hmm.
place, but in a
Yeah.
lot of ways, there are a lot of values other than capitalism that people hold quite dearly. And so I think probably especially as you get into rural areas, like just because you have the money to buy these IKEA doesn't mean they're going to let you buy them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You,
Um,
you need to have a whole respect from a community, local
yeah,
community.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and just if someone's selling one of these houses for $1,000 or $5,000, they're not making a lot of money off of it. So it's easy for them to just say no to someone who wants to buy it,
Right. Right.
you know? Because what's
Right.
more important to them is that legacy that they're leaving for this community and their family and all these things.
Hmm.
Unless the only owner now is a 20-year-old who lives in Tokyo and
Right.
doesn't want anything to do with the house. So
Hmm.
there's also that situation,
Yeah.
right? And who doesn't want to pay the property taxes on it,
Hmm. That's
which are probably
true.
more than the house costs.
Yeah, I think that's the main reason too.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
property taxes are
Mhm.
so much
Much
higher than the
higher.
value of the house. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you buy an IKEA and it hasn't been repossessed by the local municipality, the local town, um, you have to pay the property taxes that are owed, right?
Yeah.
Now they do have situations where the amount of property tax owed is so high that the city actually takes ownership of the house, right?
Hmm.
And in those cases, you can buy them extremely cheap because then you don't have to pay back the property
Right.
tax.
Right.
Um, but then there's a whole nother system that they use, these things they call IKEA banks, right?
Hmm.
You have to go to like an auction
Yeah. Yeah.
that happens at City Hall to buy the house, and there's a lot of paperwork and stuff. So,
Yep.
but you know what? I wish them like all the luck in the world. I'm really interested in the project. I am a little bit skeptical, but it seems like there are more and more people joining that community, the AkiyaDAO Discord and stuff like that every day that have experience with this type of stuff. I'm seeing more Japanese people joining, which I think is a very good sign. Um, and I think they're going to set up a Japanese time zone governance call soon, which they haven't. Right now, it's been U.S. focused, I think. So,
Mm.
so I'm looking forward to that as well. Um, yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really hope they come up with something good for the NFTs, though.
Right.
I really don't want it to be like shrine gates and a dragon. That's
Mm.
so cheesy, right? Isn't that too
Yeah.
cheesy?
Yeah.
It should be I don't know. It should be like Japanese farmer or something.
Yeah.
I don't know, something cool like that. I think that's cooler than a dragon. Some guy making a local delicacy or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. That could be a good way for them to partner with the wherever it is they're going to actually
Mm.
set this up, is if the NFTs had something to do with that community.
Mm.
Uh, but I don't know. I mean, I'm an outsider too. Even though I live in Japan, it's hard for me to say what really goes on in these rural communities and how people act and feel. Uh, I don't know. Although it does seem like on NHK, there's like some story every other week about some foreigner who's moving into the countryside and
Oh yeah.
farming
Yeah.
mustard greens or whatever. I don't
Right. Right. Huh.
know. Anyway, so you can check out AkiyaDAO. They're on Twitter. Um, I don't know what their Twitter is, but AkiyaDAO is AKIYA DAO, DAO. That's their Twitter, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, this is them. So go check them out. And they're also on Gitcoin Grants, which is where I found them originally. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that's all we have for this week. Thanks everyone for tuning into another episode of this podcast, Something About Web3. Anything else you want to talk about, Kozwaki, for this week, or shall we sign off?
Well, we just need to come up with a cool name for this podcast.
That is true. Yeah. Okay, well, if you're listening, send us your ideas. Tweet at us.
Yeah.
And whoever comes up with the best name, I'm gonna make a dragon NFT and send it to you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I shouldn't rag on AkiyaDAO. I think what they're doing is cool. But please don't do the dragon. All right, folks. That's it for this week. Thanks for tuning in.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.